Right, it is of course still Newsfeed PM, the late edition with myself, Naledi Mulang. Let's take a look at other news now when we get into our panel discussion for the evening. So the Electoral Commission of South Africa is worried about the growing number of new political parties, saying that it's unsustainable. The organisation announced 34 new registrations since last year's election. CEO Sy Mamabolo says entry requirements need to be revised. But we're keen to hear from you what you make of this. Join the conversation by sending us a WhatsApp on 072-110-5584 or give us a call on 010-594-6010. We are joined in studio by UDM Secretary General, Mr. Ayonga Mazigebe, Al Jamaa Leader, Mr. Khanifa Hendricks, and of course ATM spokesperson, Mr. Zama and Jonah. Gentlemen, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I did want to say that, you know, it's not very often that you're joined by a few political parties that aren't, you know, the ANC or DA. And I don't know if there's political parties like yourselves feel uncomfortable when we say smaller political parties, but you can tell me the right sort of terminology. But Mr. Zigebe, I'll start with you. Thank you for joining us. What you make of this news from the IEC, that since last year's elections, we have 34 new political parties that have been registered, which essentially brings the total number of registered parties, listen to this, to 472. So when you hear those numbers as the UDM, and again with inverted commas, if you will accept it, these smaller political parties, if that concerns you?
Good evening, Naledi. And before I answer our question, I would like to send our deepest condolences to the Madia family for the passing of Utsidi, who was, you know, the voice of accountability in our country and a very strong woman. I've had an encounter with her a couple of times, and I think also my president had, and they had those rebuttals that they have, and CG will be laughing out loud, and so on. So we remember here at this moment, as we are doing the tributes and so on, the country has lost a jewel, and condolences also to the media fraternity, because you guys were working with her and meeting in many other spaces. So those are words.
Thank you.
In terms of the new political parties, I think it becomes uncomfortable when more political parties are coming into the space. And think we need to be very, you know, honest about it, because you're looking at you know, our constituencies, and when you look at these political parties, where they're coming from, they're spraying out from our constituencies and eating from our constituencies. We cannot run away from the fact that they're not only eating from the ANC and the DA and so on, but also us as what inverted commas will be called smaller parties. We do not mind being called a smaller party because we're doing big things. Dynamite comes in small packages in any way. So, when you look at the constitution of the country, it allows for a multi-party democracy, and this is what is being exercised. Some people would say that our democracy is growing in that way. However, you look at our councils, you find that in the city of Johannesburg, where I'm a councillor, there are 270 seats. And how are we going to, you know, separate that? But also it goes back to saying that what type of coalition agreements are we going to have going into you know, after the elections? Because right now, if you look at the coalition set up in the city of Johannesburg, is bloated. If you can, and there are many dynamics that are there. Oh, yes, there are democratic dynamics, political dynamics that needs to be there. We are exercising our democracy, but as well, because in any case, we are going to have more hung municipalities coming in these elections by virtue of new entrants coming in. And I promise you that this is the 34 that's just joined. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm looking at, by the time we're going to elections, more than 500 political parties which are going to come up, because you look at the actions that we are seeing on the ground, your change for change, your Dudulas, and there are many other organizations which are now calling themselves NGOs, but closer to election time, it will be political parties because of the way they behave on the ground. It tells you that. And as a party, it gives us, we've been here for 28 years, so it gives us a challenge to saying that we need to pull up our socks in order not to lose the constituencies that we're currently having, but also be able to grow from that, from that space, within the space, within these more political parties that are coming into that. Yes, it's frustrating for voters as well, because when you go to the ground, they'll ask you, why can't you come together as a unit? Because if you look at it, these are black political parties led by black people. Let me not say black political parties, because Constitution might not allow for racial parties and so on. But it springs up from black communities, meaning that there is something that is dislodging us from coming together and building a unit and be able to say that this is a political party made up of different sectors of society that wants to elevate the lives of our people and change the status that we're having. And I think as the black community itself, we need to introspect as to why can't we come together and work together in order for us to advance, project democracy and bring services to our people.
It's interesting because you're talking about new entrants that we could see in the run-up to the elections, and we did actually reach out to Maibuya, for instance, that consultative process that at the moment is led by Floyd Shivambu, and the response that we got from them is we will not be able to participate on this one because we have not yet transitioned into a political party. We've just wrapped up our consultation program and are currently busy consolidating thoughts and insights of all the people we engaged during the consultation roadshow. So that's another one that we wait for in the future. But let's bring in some of our other speakers. Mr. Hanif Hendricks, leader of Al Jamaa, good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. 34 new political parties since the 2024 elections, and at the moment registered 472 elections. Is that worrying for Al Jamaa? Parties, rather. Is that worrying for Al Jamaa?
It is not worrying, but before I expand, Al Jamaa would like to add its condolences to the family and also to the eyewitness team. And we share their grief. Coming to the issue that we are discussing, Al Jamaa has for the past 12 months consolidated our constituency. We are ready to contest the elections, and it is not worrying for us that there are new entrants coming on board. But we can understand that the IEC may have a lot of logistical matters or issues if many of those newly registered political parties actually pay their deposits and decide to contest and qualify to contest, and it expands the ballot forms that was used in the last elections. Also, the monitoring that has to take place. We can understand that the IEC may be concerned, but they had a public participation process. The entry requirements for new political parties has now been settled, and now we must live with it. So we don't agree that the IEC should now backtrack on the very process that they have started to decide on the entry requirements of new political parties. They will just have to come up with solutions, and we hope that Treasury will take note of the extra financial requirements that the IEC may need, because it's all for the sake of our democracy.
Yeah, you see, one of the recommendations made by the IEC is that the requirements for a political party to be able to contest the elections, that needing to be revised. Mr. Njona, I imagine you'd also want to start with messages of condolences, and I'll allow you to do that at the beginning. But perhaps the question, just as we get into the discussion, is if you think that we do need to review the requirements for parties as they contest elections and what that needs to look like from the ATM's point of view. Perhaps also just to ride on the back of what was said by Mr. Zigebe, talking about all of these different parties that we have, many of them coming from black communities. And I wonder if in this day and age we are able to at some point separate ourselves from race-based political parties. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much. Well, as the African Transformation Movement, would like to take this opportunity first to say truly losing a life is tragic. Losing a voice would like to suggest that it is even more tragic. CD was one of those individuals who brought about enlightenment, an individual who was able to bring about accountability. The checks and balances of our society truly depend on individuals like her, and truly we've lost a voice. We lost an individual who is able to bring about thought-provoking questions and ideas so as to ensure that the checks and balances of our society are in place in terms of monitoring. But not only that, but enlighten society towards a level of growth that would actually ensure that we are able to grow a society. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, we would like to also send out condolences and heartfelt, truly condolences to the family and the journalists at large. Now coming to the issues that you have raised, on the issue of reviewing it, you know, the question of representation is a very important a very important and integral part of our democracy. If people feel that they are not represented within the current systems, and if people feel that the current political parties do not speak to their aspirations, who are we then to try and stifle that from happening? The question of representation is very important in that you want people who are speaking the same language, who see the world through the same eyes or spectacles, who in their sober senses would align with you in terms of values, principles, and how they would go about bringing about change. And remember that one's inability to mobilize cannot be blamed to smaller parties or mushrooming parties. Our duty is to influence society. And if we are effective in what we do, regardless of who mushrooms, that ideal, if it is the ideal of the people, should be able to garner the necessary support and give you what needs to be given in terms of the number of seats that you have. As the African Transformation Movement, we truly believe that let the will of the people find expression in whatever we do, and one's inability to mobilize must not be seen as must be seen as what it is. Your inability to speak the voice of the people, inability to speak in the language of the people, inability to mobilize in a manner that is consistent with what the people of this country want.
Yeah, you know, the pragmatic part of me, though, does think that the challenge of the ability or inability to mobilize also comes with resources. It's a resource-intensive exercise for any party, whether a new entry, a smaller entry, or even some of the bigger political parties. And so there is the power dynamic there. And then, of course, there's the issue of when we sit at the Results Operations Center and we're counting the numbers, we can certainly have a list of parties that are willing to stand and represent their community or their constituency. But the numbers are what dictates who sits in council, for instance. And so how do we start to galvanize those numbers? Let's get some views from our listeners or viewers now. Jane is in Johannesburg. Jane, good evening. Thank you for calling.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I did hear some of the comment there.
Sure.
I personally feel that over 400 parties is creating a mockery of democracy. There is no question that there should be a selection of parties which represent a huge variety of interests. No one can expect to tailor-make their own interests within a small group of 1,000 people to have a voice in the nation, in the going forward of any country. Surely there is enough within, at least, I don't know, I can't even say how many parties, but in some countries there are only 2 parties. In other countries there are more. So there needs to be choice. But on the other hand, when you put 400 odd names on a ballot sheet, all you're doing is totally confusing the electorate. You're not giving them any basis of making comparisons because there are just these splinter groups everywhere. And one must realize that in any country, one's personal interests cannot form the basis of a country's governance. It must be for the benefit of a larger community. And I feel that the CEO is on the right track when he says that 1,000 people signing a petition is not sufficient to set up a new party. I mean, let's make that tenfold. Let's make it 10,000. That would probably knock out at least 50% of the smallest splinter groups and still leave a voice for the average South African person. That's my feeling.
Sure, Jane, very interesting views there. Jane in Johannesburg, they're saying personal interests are really not a basis for one to start a political party. I think that's an interesting point because it speaks to just the reasons behind why we have so many political parties. Is it because there is interest in making a difference in the country, in your municipality? Or is there a sense that some are running for a meal ticket, for instance, that argument having been made a few times? Well, we'll take more calls and continue with the discussion on the other side of this short break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. So we continue our discussion with a few of the, and we'll say with inverted commas, of smaller political parties in our political landscape. This is on the back of the IEC announcing that since the 2024 national and provincial elections, 34 new parties have been registered. And I should actually just break down those numbers because at the moment, the number of registered political parties in the country are a whopping 472. But those do need to be clarified, right? 287 are at national level. 184 are either in provincial or municipal or district level, but pulled together 474 registered political parties. What do you think that the growing list of political parties does to the landscape and certainly to the opportunities that the electorate has to make their decisions? We'll take a look at a few WhatsApps on the number 072 110 5584. Let's bring some of those messages up onto the screen. Zondi in Limpopo says, formations of these small parties is a waste of time and division of black unity. Some people are driven by selfish interest and a desire to just be parliament for nothing. An American style of two-party system must be adopted. Okay, Zondi, thank you so much. Luvuyo says the emergence of 34 new political parties is a significant development. It's exciting to seeing new voices and perspectives entering the political landscape. However, it's crucial that these parties bring meaningful change and representation to the people. The test will be in their ability to deliver on their promises. Let's watch with interest and hold them accountable. Luvuyo, thanks for that. Good evening, Nalendi. I don't know what's the importance of having too many political parties. Nowadays, everybody wants to eat a piece of the pie. They don't put the lives of South Africans first. Too many political parties. For what? That's Nwako from Bukokwa. Thank you so much for that. Molwanta is calling in from Kempton Park. Molwanta, good evening.
Good evening, Naledi. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you for calling. Talk to us.
No, ultimately, we still understand that we're in a democratic country where people they've got the right to form in a political party, but this one it has nothing to do with servicing the people of South Africa. I'm just disappointed that the majority of these political parties are targeting the majority of the black people because it can't be like that. This system of democracy, open political parties, it doesn't go to address the challenges that they're experiencing of the imbalances of the past and etc. It's just about self-serving. And actually, it's just these people that are opening a pyramid scheme. Pyramid scheme. That's why you are looking to invest money, but at the end of the day, you can't see the return of investment.
Yeah, okay.
Simple as that.
All right, Mulando, thank you so much for calling in. Interesting points. Jane at the earlier also making the point around personal interests, and Mr. Zigebe, I'll bring that one to you. Mulando says majority of these parties are targeting the black voter. Here's the reality: we have the UDM, for instance, that some may argue. And this is, again, a perception, and I'm not going to say that this is the reality, and I'm sure you would agree with that. A perception, the UDM speaking for a certain constituency, maybe the Black Xhosa South African, as a perception, right? And what you say to that this is a splitting of the black vote, a weakening of the black electorate, what you say to that, and Jane saying personal interests are not a basis to run for a political party. Do we have political parties entering the sphere as a meal ticket?
I wouldn't say it's a meal ticket, because everyone comes and makes their own claim into the space, and it would be wrong of me to say it's a meal ticket for them because they know what they bring. But they are correct to saying that it's a constituency-based type of setting, because if you look at the emergence of other political parties when they came into the political space, they were talking about Mabahambe and so on. And that when you get into governance, then it becomes something else. You can't implement Mabahambe because there's a constitution in place and there are laws that are in place. So it's playing into the gallery of the issues and the pain that our people are facing on the ground. Then we milk that particular pain for us to be able to form these political parties, because it's a larger population, which is a black population. And they're the ones who are marginalized up till today, 31 years or 32 years into democracy and everything. And all of these atrocities, they're the ones who are facing them. So the emergence of black parties, of these political parties from black communities, it is something that you can say it's understandable. Because if you look other political parties, they would talk about, or even name themselves as a party for water and whatnot forth, because the NGO at the time was fighting an issue of lack of water that was being provided into a certain community, and they decided, okay, no, because we are not heard as an NGO, let's rather get into the political space whereby we can make a difference and be able to influence policy and direction so that our people can get water. So you see from that, how you phrase the name of the party as well, it tells you that these are constituency-based, these are issue-based political parties, because we are going to have to look at the 400, God forbid that it will be that in the local government elections, manifestos. But you are going to find that the strongest of issues that are there are the ones that they were advancing during the mobilization and so on. And also, I want to put this through. Being worried that there's more political parties that are coming to the space, it doesn't mean that you're scared. But it's not taking any other player, very lightly. Like, for instance, the UDM does not take any, even when we look at, because it's not just political parties which are going to contest the local government elections. There are individuals which are going to do that. That as well, it has an impact. So you will never be able to take these political parties.
Except in last year's elections, we didn't see any of the independent candidates get very far. In fact, not make any real traction at all. And so that does speak to just how much visibility you can give to representative parties and then individuals when there is such a list. But Mr. Njana, let me bring this one back to you. The issue of personal interests as a basis, right? Jane says the 472 makes a mockery of our democracy. I don't know what you say to that we're splintering the black vote, if you'd like to add to that. And then let me just stack something on top of that. You've got parties like Rise Mzansi, Rise Mzansi, the Good Party in Bossa, murmurs that are moving around with some reports that they may be looking at working together for the 2029 government elections. And if you have Mr. Zigebe who says there are political parties that are issues-based, why are smaller political parties not saying let's pull together our resources and our ideas and those very numbers that we're able to bring in? Mr. John.
It is very important for the citizens of this country to remember that a one-party dominance has not actually delivered the Republic of South Africa from the problems that were faced. Even a two-party dominance and a three-party dominance, if you were to look at matters of KZN, Western Cape, whilst the rest of South Africa at some stage was under the rule of the ANC. Remember, the one-party, two- or three-party dominance only delivered our people to a state of despondency. Our people didn't just wake up one day and say, we want to bury the ANC under 40%. They didn't just wake up one day and say, we have lost hope in one-party dominance. It is because that system did not deliver us to an upward trajectory where society was actually delivered. Now, people said, if one political party cannot deliver, maybe a collective could actually deal with this matter, where there will be checks and balances even upon the establishment of the government itself. Now, that will of the people cannot be looked down on. Remember that there are close to 17 million people who did not participate in the previous elections. So it does not mean that because the participants are less than 17 million, 15 million plus, and therefore the people who could say something about this country, it is the end. There are 17 more people, a million people we could speak to who can actually thrive. So I'm trying to remove this notion that when the people, because they were disappointed by the very system, want to represent themselves, it could be only one way, because people are trying to dance for their supper, or they are trying to actually represent themselves and not the people. We need to demystify that it is not true.
Okay, Mr. Hendricks, so your view on this, and I'm keen to hear your perspective on the issue of parties that are built to represent a certain constituency and the perception of a party that speaks to a racial grouping, for instance, and if we can move away from that, have we matured from that sort of political landscape?
I think we have moved away from just targeting a particular race group, because every vote counts. We must also understand that we are contesting national municipal elections. Many of the parties that are registered are only interested to contest maybe one municipality only. There are political parties in different municipalities who solely contest that municipality and not other municipalities. That's why I feel that the alarm being caused by the proliferation of political parties is unnecessary, and also a bit disappointed once again that even the IEC is raising concerns about it. They know that there are many parties that only register for one municipality. So if you look at the spread, it is not so serious as people make it out to be. And I don't think that any political party worth its salt would only target a particular race group, because like I said earlier on, every vote counts, and they would go out of their way to try and attract everyone in the municipality, because we're contesting municipal elections. We focus on municipalities, it's not provincial or national.
So this is what we've seen, and you'd remember this as a feature even with the passing, for instance, of our fiscal framework. The role of, again with inverted commas, smaller parties in being able to sway which way we're able to, for instance, legislate in the National Assembly, and how decisions are made in councils moving forward, certainly after 2026. So speaks to the power of what some of these parties actually do have when there is a collective pooling. Who is speaking to who ahead of the 2026 local government elections? We'll start getting some of those whispers on the other side of this. Stay with us. Welcome back. We continue to chat to some of the political parties looking forward to contesting the 2026 local government elections. Who is going to be working with whom next year? And perhaps some conversations already around possible coalitions in the various municipalities after next year as we get closer and closer to seeing them campaign. But we'll take one last caller on this one. Moremedi is in Pretoria. Moremedi, good evening.
Good evening, madam. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you so much for calling. Talk to us.
Yes, I agree also that patrols the leadership that is there.
Yes.
My comment is this one, man. I'm just pleading with all the leaders in our government that the IEC must have only a certain number, of political parties that can register. So now it's open for everyone. Everyone that just want to register, they go and register. I don't know, they are looking for money or they are making commission. They are looking like a spaza shop. We cannot take everyone. We cannot have lots of political parties. It's not possible. We just need somebody who can help our country so that at least we know where we are going, because their mandate is the same. If it's service delivery, it will be service delivery for every one of them. Why should they have power, be like power mongers? They just want to be leaders, all of our black people. I'm not happy with it because there's no way they are going. They're dividing their vote. Because a vote of a black person will every time be divided. The white people, they know every time who they are voting for. There's no lot of white political parties.
Okay.
But black people, they are hungry for nothing.
All right, Moremedi, thank you so much for calling. There's that point again, splitting the black vote, but we need to move towards closing this off. And quickly, let's get closing thoughts from our panel that is joining us via video link. Mr. Hanif Hendricks of Al Jamaa. Okay, the campaigning for Al Jamaa is going to get started. You've had quite some great leverage in various parts of the country recently as a party, having had even 2 mayors, for instance, in the city of Johannesburg. It's a lot of growth for a party that's considered considerably new in the political landscape. Then you've got Rise Mzansi Good Party, as well as Bossa, that are murmured to be talking about working together in 2029. Would you join them? Who are you not willing to work with, opposed to the 2026 LGEs? Mr. Hendricks?
Yes, I seem to be having...
Oh, some technical glitches. Are you still there, Mr. Hanif Hendricks? Okay, he's frozen. We'll come back to him. Mr. Njana, same question for you.
Thank you so much. As the African Transformation Movement, I think it's important to highlight, as we are giving our parting shot, that in this country we have 4,484 wards and 24,000 BDs, 257 municipalities. So the 472, if you look at it, it only constitutes 10% of the total number of wards that you have in the country. So as we're thinking and we are scared that the will of the people is actually bringing this democracy to a state of despondency, we must think about that again. When you look at the number of contested elections or avenues of contest versus the number of political parties, you would see that that number only constitutes 10% of what we have. Then moving from that, it's going to be very important moving to the 2026 elections, that the people of this country must actually not allow people to dictate for them how they want to be represented. It's going to be imperative that the people of this country must be active participants in their own emancipation, and they must get the people who speak their language, the people who have heard them, the people who sit with them and engage them thoroughly, so that any document produced of that, it be a will of the people, and those people must make way to the legislative bodies of this country, representing the people of this country, and fight so that the majority of the people were marginalized in the past actually find expression in all spheres of our existence.
Yeah, so Progressive Caucus in 2026, any plans, any talks?
For now, as the African Transformation Movement, we say, first go to the elections. come back with a mandate, then we will talk.
Okay.
We do not want to prematurely talk or sign anything. Maybe people don't get a mandate whilst we are in a marriage with them. We are open to talking to everybody, collaborative effort. We are open to that, but we have not signed anything yet. It is important unless there are special circumstances that call for coalitions before. But for us, African Transformation Movement, go to elections, get a mandate, and when you have gotten a mandate, then let's.
Mr. Hendricks, we've got you back. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as far as Al Jamaa is concerned, our doors are open to work with other political parties. The only condition is that they must have their roots in the liberation movement, because that's the only way we're going to get transformation, and we are going to be able to do the highest levels of service delivery.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Hendricks there. Mr. Sigebe?
We've always said it that we are open to talking to anybody and open to working with anyone, provided that we are going to take South Africa forward and change people's lives. At the moment, we are not talking to anyone. We are focusing on, educating our people about, the voter and electoral systems of South Africa, which is important. And we are hoping that the national dialogue itself, it is going to be a platform of education, even though we are going to be, setting a new social compact that is going to take us forward into the next 30 years, 35 years as a country.
All right, gentlemen, an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Mr. Khanifa Hendricks is, of course, the party leader of Al Jamaa. Mr. Zaman John, a spokesperson for the Africa Transformation Movement, and Mr. Yonga Mazigebe in studio with us, Secretary General of the United Democratic Movement. All right, you're still watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition. We've got your headlines in just a few moments. Do stay with us.